guys. Just bear with me. Today is Kayla's birthday. So, on paper, she would have been 45 years old, but in her world, she would have been 39. So, happy 39th birthday again. Um, so, it's been over 4 years since Kayla was killed in her home by Berkeley police. Her death has been deeply felt by many different communities. She was an absolute poster girl for intersectionality. What did she do, you ask? Was she threatening? Was she suicidal? Was she a danger to society? No. Kayla was mentally ill, black, and transgender. Those three criteria alone made her a target, as African Americans, transgender women, and the mentally disabled are killed at an alarming rate due to police encounters. The reality is the mentally disabled account for 1 in 4 of all fatal police encounters. Family and friends call the only people they can when a loved one is in crisis the police, and it's truly a national crisis. So I need to give you guys a little bit of background on what exactly happened that night. So Kayla, she had waited months to get affordable housing in Berkeley, and she finally did. And within less than 6 months, she was murdered. And I say it was murder because that's exactly what it was. Um, Kayla was at home. She was cooking dinner for her friends. Kayla loved to cook, and the girl loved to eat. So she was doing what she did best and entertaining. And her roommate felt that Kayla was a little bit off. Kayla was she was actively psychotic, which doesn't really mean anything. She was just in her own world. She was, um, talking to her voices and people that weren't necessarily there, but she was happy and she was in a good mood. The roommate felt she needed medication, which due to the lack of mental health services, she wasn't able to see a psychiatrist for months. And when she finally did go to her appointment, only to be turned away because the doctor couldn't see her. So when the police arrived, they didn't talk to Kayla. They didn't talk to the roommate. They ran a warrant check on the roommate who called for help. So the roommate felt Kayla needed medication, called dispatch, who then brought the police. So once again, they already criminalized Kayla before they even met her. And they criminalized her because she was mentally disabled. So they ran a warrant check on the roommate, and they found that this person did have a warrant in San Francisco. So, the person who called for help, they promptly put him in the police car, and they ran a warrant check on Kayla. And what came up was an old invalid warrant for someone who had her birth name, Xavier Moore. The date of birth was incorrect. This is someone 20 years older than Kayla. It was not a valid warrant. But what the Officer Brown, decided to do was she was going to arrest Kayla. She took the roommate out of the car, had him unlock Kayla's door, put him back in the car, called Kayla to the door, and Kayla answered. She was polite, and she was a little bit terrified seeing the officers, but she wasn't violent. She wasn't aggressive. She wanted to know what was going on. And after talking to Kayla for about 5 minutes, she told Kayla, well, you're going to jail. And of course, Kayla's terrified. She didn't understand what she had done wrong. She didn't do anything wrong. So in Kayla's mind, she was going to make a phone call to the FBI and get this all straightened out. When she turned to make the phone call, the officers grabbed her. Kayla pulled back, and they fell into her room on top of a futon, and that's when the struggle ensued. Within seconds, there were 6 to 8 officers on top of her. And once again, Kayla's a big girl. They had her face down on her stomach with all that weight on top of her, at least 800 to 1,000 pounds of people on top of her. And they were trying to get her into what was called a wrap device, which is a way to restrain. Basically, it's a way to hog tie someone, their legs and their hands. And Kayla was screaming. She was yelling. She was telling them to get off me. You're hurting me. And once they finally got her into this device, they realized that she was quiet. They managed to check on each other. And after 2 minutes of realizing that Kayla was quiet, they turned her over and realized that she had stopped breathing. So the one officer attempted what I call bullshit CPR. He did the chest compression, But Officer Brown refused to put her mouth on Kayla's and give her the life-saving breath to get oxygen to her brain. She left her face mask in the car because, that's, and it's okay if you leave your face mask in a car to let someone die. If that had been her sister, she wouldn't have hesitated. But they didn't see Kayla as a person, they saw her as an it, and that's exactly what they called her. During the struggle, Kayla was in her moo-moo, it came apart. And the officer looked at her while she was exposed and said, well, what is it? Is it a he or a she? And to hear, that's exactly how they felt about her. She was an it. She didn't deserve to live. And since then, the last 4 years, have been trying to get justice for her. And it's really hard just seeing her birthday because she loved her birthday. All right. Berkeley is a town where 35% of police calls are in response to people with some form of mental illness. And yet, crisis intervention training, CIT, has been trimmed down to a voluntary 40 hours of training to now a mandatory 8-hour training for all officers in direct contact with the public. So not only are they not properly trained, they're getting less training than they did before. The officers who responded to Kayla's call for mental health treatment for 5150 did not have CIT training or mobile crisis, which are trained mental professionals to assist with assessing Kayla. Kayla lived in a town where someone who wants help dealing with a mental health crisis can either leave a message for mobile crisis or call a non-emergency number and speak with a police dispatcher. Kayla lived in a town that will really routinely send a fire truck, an ambulance, and anyone from 4 to 10 police officers in response to a call for help, but no one with the training to deliver actual mental health assistance. Unfortunately, killing a black woman in crisis is becoming more and more common. Police misconduct is not just a male experience, as women of color are losing their lives to this violence. Transgender women of color are stopped, harassed, assaulted, and murdered by police with impunity. This past year has seen unprecedented organizing, action, and attention around black women's experience with policing. However, more needs to be done to foster an environment where being a transgender woman is not a crime and not to be shamed. Andrea Ritchie, an attorney specializing in police misconduct, states, when people look or act queer or gender nonconforming, police often read that as disorder, and they often perceive that person as already disorderly, as already suspicious, as already prone to violence. For those with mental disabilities, the constant dehumanization is debilitating. Let's not shame or hide our mentally disabled, but show that there is hope and normalcy can be achieved. Kayla was so proud that she was able to find affordable housing in the city she was born and raised. She felt connected to Berkeley. But the sad reality is the Berkeley we knew 20 years ago no longer exists. There is no tolerance if you are mentally disabled or homeless. The police don't want to see you, and heaven help you if you sit on the street corner for too long. A gap in services has been created over the years, and the crisis that currently exists was long in the making. Now there are forces in Berkeley that would prefer to simply run the mentally disabled, homeless, and others who just can't cut it out of town through a combination of economic apartheid and police intimidation. This is a situation that has developed gradually, and many good people fail to notice or protest. Demeaning stereotypes of leftist culture and dismissive remarks like, oh, that's so berserkly, mask a tragic reality about the number of people who are actually suffering from mental disabilities and not receiving adequate care. The militarization of mental health is also becoming a national issue. The transfer of military weapons, vehicles, and techniques is well documented and has cost of billions of dollars. At the same time as they are receiving military training, cops are also expected to be the first ones to deal with people on the streets with mental disabilities, because the funds for real mental health workers are now non-existent. At times, people have to get arrested to go to jail before they can access certain city services. In 2005, it was noted that people with mental disabilities were 16 times more likely to be killed by police than those without. As new social workers, you need to ask yourself, are you equipped with the skills to not only de-escalate your client, but the police as well? A society can exist in which being transgender, a person of color, or mentally disabled is not a crime. and that opportunity should exist for all people. We need to end the stigma in which society devalues their lives and improve the circumstances by eliminating the hate and policing. Let us focus on correcting systematic flaws, demanding criminal justice reforms, increase mental health funding and interventions, and most importantly, end the abuse of power. In 2001, Amnesty International published a report called United States of America, Race, Rights, and Police Brutality, which highlights the problem of police using excessive force, including deadly force, against mentally ill or disturbed people who could have been subdued through less extreme measures. The trend of police arresting and criminalizing those in a mental health crisis has deadly consequences, but why is it so hard to get justice when this happens? Why has the most important federal laws, which was enacted to protect the rights of people with disabilities, including mental health disabilities, consistently been ignored and disregarded when it applies to law enforcement? And how does this happen in Berkeley, respected worldwide for disability rights? After 4 long years, we will finally see our day in court as we move forward with the American with Disabilities Act claim in October 23, 2017. Kayla's court case is for all those who have a disability, and any way the court rules, that determination will have long-term impacts on disability rights and police accountability, because it's not helping the mentally disabled that we fear. It's what happens if we don't. So, with that being said, I wanted to just read a poem that Kayla had written when it was actually published. She was an author, she was a poet. When Kayla had a lot of behavioral issues when she was younger, she did a lot of fighting because she had to. You know, she's this, I guess, little femboy at the time, and you know, she didn't let the bullies bring her down. And if you wanted to step to her, she will step you down. And she was always having to fight. But this poem is just representing of her coming to her sexuality and just realizing that there are things going on within her, maybe signs of mental illness that she wasn't aware of at the time, but it was just so profound when I read it. It's called My Outer Skin. The time of day where I like to stay can open and release my shell, but the hurt within can start and begin. My outer skin, you can tell. The lies and comfort I gave myself, it's myself I'm starting to ask. The lies turned into clay, it hardened that day, and now I'm wearing a mask. One day will come, the hurt will run. The mask will peel off again. My life I'll face and give it a face. I'll shed my outer skin. So that was written by 15-year-old Kayla. Thank you. Towards the end of this, we're going to watch a little clip of a protest. Not a protest. It was more of a rally. I guess it was a protest. But it was done in 2016 when we finally started gearing up to court. And let me tell you, the process for justice is long. And for anyone who thinks that families are in this for money or for whatever reasons are insane, this has been a constant struggle, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's been 4 years in the making, and we finally get to court. So.
Thank you guys, everyone. I'm so pleased to see such wonderful faces and a great turnout. Like Andre mentioned, our family has been dealing with this tragedy, this murder that happened to Kayla, and that's exactly what it was and what it is. This was a case of torture. It was extreme, and it was unnecessary, and it was someone who was mentally ill, who was black, who was transgender, who 25 years ago would have been welcomed in Berkeley, but now she was killed.
One, we are the people. Two, a little bit louder. Three, we want justice for Kayla Moore. One, we are the people. Two, a little bit louder. Three, we want justice for Kayla Moore. One, we are the people. Two, a little bit louder. Three, we want justice for Kayla Moore.
stars. Love to Maria, to the family, to the beautiful spirit of this beautiful sister, Kayla Moore. Can we all say her name? Kayla Moore!
Kayla Moore!
It's unfortunate that, you know, we live in a society where it's a crime to be poor. How is it a crime to be poor by the same oppressors that put us in that position in the first place? You know, and I don't look at Kayla Moore as somebody that had a mental health issue. Kayla was oppressed. You have to clarify that. It's a difference between being oppressed and have a mental health issue.
The one thing that we did wrong was staying down too long. And the one thing that we did right was the day that we began to fight. No more, no more, no more auction block for me.